was one of those people that she left a job to, unfortunately. So I'm Rex, Stephanie's brother, and I'm here representing Lois and Helen, brother Gary, nieces and nephews and cousins who couldn't be here today that have sent us messages of support. I say thank you to them. I'd just like our family to take a minute to think about our brother Gary in Australia. He'll be doing it hard today over there. He couldn't make it today, but he was pretty close to Stephanie, being the closest brother to her when they were young. And just recently they talked, and he said that he was going to have a day off today and have a red wine down the back of a section for her. So that was quite nice. So I come here today a little bit happy, very sad and a bit angry really. I'm happy that Stephanie now is no longer in any pain. She's not taking all those damn pills, but we were grateful that those pills did make her more comfortable. She's at peace, and she did a lot in that short period of 4 months, 4.5 months, and ticking off her bucket list. She did a hell of a lot. She was in the garden most mornings at 7 o'clock. Jay would testify to that. You couldn't keep her in bed. She had many family outings. She survived to see Leonie turn 21. Pretty happy about that. And they had a month party, I believe. She had visits to Pipton, Para, over to Tākeka, one of their favourite spots to go as a family. And just Saturday week ago, she watched her silly 2 daughters jumping out of a damn plane in Motueka. They took her over there and they lay her out on the ground. Jay said she just looked up. Thoroughly enjoyed them, yelling and screaming like bloody idiots. And she had a lot of time to arrange her own funeral. And she sure did. She didn't miss anything. Even to getting buried today on Friday. So she worked it out pretty good. And also, as I said, we've come here pretty sad too, because she's not going to become a nana or grandma. She's not going to get to see her girls get married. She's going to miss all our family occasions. And Jay and her were just starting to get going in life more so, with the girls just leaving home, planning to do things. But unfortunately she was cut down. We're going to miss her. We're going to miss her smile, her laugh, her sharpness. And their family won't be the same about her. And also I mentioned I'm pretty damn angry about this damn cancer. Why her? What the hell did she get it for? Why didn't I get it first? I'm older than she is. After all these years, why can't they find a damn cancer, a cure for this cancer? It's just ripping family to bits. There's just so many people dying of it, and it just seems a waste. After 1 year of this COVID, it seems like they've got a vaccine for it, and yet for years and years and years, this cancer's just killing people. Why? Why can't someone just find a 200ml bottle and they give it to you? You drink it and it goes away. I don't know. Just Wednesday night, 43 damn people died of cancer since Stephen died, just in this area. It's just terrible. It really is terrible. I don't know. There seems to be more and more people dying of it. It's just a waste of a 51-year-old young lady here that never smoked, never drank. That might have got a laugh. Never drank any more than we did, I should say. Anyway, Stephanie was born, as you can see on your bit of paper, in 1969 in the Merchant Hospital, like the rest of her other. She was the fifth child of Joyce and Bill McCaw of Fairfax Street. She was born some 13 years later after Helen, 12 years Lois, 9 years Rex and 6 years Gary. Gary and I were probably a bit young to know that Mum was even having another baby. But anyway, Stephanie arrived, and at that time Gary, of course, was the youngest, so as everybody knows in this hall today, the youngest is the most spoiledest. So Gary just came with the rest of us after that. Stephanie was just pushed over like the rest of us were. Anyway, she was a beautiful little girl. Her sisters loved her to bits. And of course, at that stage of their life, they were spending a hell of a lot of time in front of the mirrors, being teenagers, and even a lot more time in the bathroom. And they would dress her up, put her in hair curlers, and put her in this big old-fashioned hairdryer they had in those days when they weren't there themselves. They'd do her face up, and she definitely always dressed up. She was a beautiful little girl, as you probably see by some of these pictures. For some reason, 2 or 3 years after that, she ended up being in my room, and I was in charge of telling her stories that I used to make up and singing the odd song or two, which pretty much used to put me to sleep, not her. But we were pretty lucky, probably, when I look back now, that Steffi made it to 51. She had a couple of bad experiences when she was younger. In fact, in the middle of the night one night, her mother woke up to a bad smell in her house, and she went from room to room thinking that smell is very unusual, and she came into our room and came over to me, and I was dead to the world, like you would be, and she went over to Stephanie and lifted the blanket up, and poof, the whole thing, the electric blanket was smouldering away. It was a terrible smell, and of course, as soon as Mum lifted the blanket up, it caught fire. Dad was down there, went for Mum yelling, and they got the mattress out and the electric blanket, and luckily for Stephanie, she only had school marks all over her jammies, and thank goodness we had Mum. It must have been a mother's feeling that someone wasn't quite right, but she survived, and within 6 or 8 months of that, when she was 4 or 5, it was her birthday, and Dad had told her at lunchtime he was going to be bringing her a present home in the back of the trekker. And that evening when he drove in, Stephanie, my parents had got a railing and a concrete pad around the front of their place, and they have a little railing on the top which is about 1 metre high, and Dad drove down the driveway of our place, and Stephanie got so excited when he opened the back of the trekker and brought this little bike out. She went straight over the front, and she went smash with her head right on the front of her forehead. And of course, how it didn't pop open. Luckily, your Mum and Dad got something around it and some ice on it, and they went up to the hospital, and it didn't cut. She didn't have a scar or anything, but we'll never forget it, will we? But she cried. Man, I can still hear her there crying that day. Poor little girl. But she attended the Merchant District High School, just like we were, which it was called in those days. I believe her achievements weren't quite as good as her 2 brothers before her. That would be correct, wouldn't it, Mum? I'm not right in saying that. We had a pretty high standard. She had many friends along the way, did all the school activities like everybody did, played sports that were available in Merchant at the time. She tried a bit of everything. She, like her 2 sisters before her, were very good hockey players. Stephanie was a good hockey player, and she played that well into her adults. Lois was just saying to me yesterday that she was like a little scavenger. She ran everywhere and was on the ball the whole time. She was very fit. But she had to go at netball later on and had the field game with Leonie too, apparently. So she would have enjoyed that, playing with her daughter. Enjoyed a bit of table tennis. She had to go at all of them. So she didn't do anything different, just the same as all of us had to go, and did our best, and enjoyed growing up. But she got into her teenage years, and then all of a sudden this brown boy started coming around our place. And Gary and I were sent out to see what he was about, to see what was going on, and report back whether we thought he was suitable to be dating our little sister. So we went and checked him out, and we came back and told our parents that, well, he played rugby and he drank beer. And that was good enough for Gary and I. We date our sister. And the other important factor was he played in the forwards, and he was a hell of a lot bigger than we were. So we weren't going to argue with him. But they went out for about 10 years before they were married. Different places they lived in. They were married at Stoke some 10 years later. Earlier this year they celebrated their 35th wedding anniversary, and they went on a week cruise. And that's when Stephanie started to not feel so comfortable, and just before lockdown, and unfortunately things deteriorated from there. But soon after they got married, of course, at Stoke, Hayley arrived on the scene. That would have been a shock to them. But no, she was a beautiful little girl too, and then the only was not far after. And they went about bringing up their children down here in Richmond, just like we all did, wherever we were, and did a damn good job to turn out such fine daughters. I'll never say that again, Hayley, so don't ask me to. Over those years of being a bit younger, she attended many birthday and wedding family gatherings, and she enjoyed getting together with all her nieces and nephews. And one of the weddings I particularly remember was a gentleman that's in this hall today, got his only up for a dance. Hey.
No.
And all I can say is they put some moves on that floor for about 20 minutes that you wouldn't want to see again. And you don't want to. But at the end of the dance, she just thought, oh, I'm going to do the dip. See if my auntie can handle that. And he dipped her over and just dropped her straight on her back. But to Stephanie's credit, she got up, laughed it off, kept going. And the rumour is the next morning she had quite a big bump on the back of her head. But she enjoyed the night, had a good time, and she was like that with every party. She didn't just like sitting around drinking like her big brother did. She'd get up and be dancing. She was fun. So in March of last year, I was very lucky to be able to travel to Stephanie and Jay's house and celebrate her 50th birthday party in her back garden, which was her pride and joy. She had everybody there, her mother and sisters, and nephews and nieces, and they were popping in. She had neighbours coming across and workmates, some of her baddie friends, she'd call them. So I didn't have a clue what baddie was at the time. I'd say, what's this baddie stuff? And she'd say, oh, it's my badminton people. I said, oh, okay. But she had a great day, and she was the happiest I'd seen her probably since she got married. But there was two reasons why she was so happy that day, because the day before, Hayley and Leonie and Jay had fibbed a wee bit, told her, and told her that Jay said he was going to be late home from work that night, which he was, but unknown to Stephanie, they jacked up for Hayley to come home the day before from Brisbane, and he went and picked her up that evening and dropped her around the corner, and Stephanie, Hayley went round and knocked on the door, and Stephanie got a hell of a shock. And I'm very pleased she did that now. And the other reason was, she was 50. And it meant a hell of a lot to her when it came to playing badminton, because she didn't have to be that bloody mascot anymore. And they would have been happy she wasn't going to be the mascot anymore, because I heard some stories about her being the mascot. The noise she made, the things she dressed up in. She would have been a real pain, I'm sure, to these people. But she was 50 because she could play. She could go away with her husband and her daddy mates and have fun and enjoy it. In July of this year, she went away on her last tournament to Christchurch and had a good time. And on the second night, I believe Hayley and Jay and Stephanie didn't stay, and she couldn't face her badminton friends to tell them that she just had a bad results weren't too good for her cancer, and she got her good friend Wendy to pass it on to them before they left, and they were very shocked like the rest of us were. But she took it on the chin and they've been very good to her. So in closing, I'd like to make a few thanks to a few people. To her doctor, I don't know who she's here today, Liz Scott. What a tremendous job she did right from the start. She was Stephanie's own doctor. She went beyond expectations for Stephanie and Jay and the kids. She'd call in after work when she was off duty. She'd ring. She tried to make sure that Stephanie was painless, that there was no problems with anything. She was absolutely wonderful. So Liz, if you are here, on behalf of that family, thank you. And then later on we had the hospice nurses coming and going, and Jay said to me, Rex, they just didn't stay for 5 minutes, sometimes they were there for an hour, and they were making sure she was comfortable and her medication was all at the right place it should be, and very caring, very friendly ladies, and some of them went over the top and called and were right there on that last day, right till 1 o'clock in the morning. So it's nice to know there's people out there like that, with someone like Stephanie, who was young and fit, and they could see this young lady was slowly deteriorating, and yet they kept a nice smile on their face and were joyful as good as they could be under the circumstances. To you, Jay, thank you for being a sister's husband for 35 years, sort of thing. You've been a good husband, good dad, and you looked after your little sister. Thank you. She was your fishing mate, your gardening mate, drinking mate. Yes, mate. You're a good man. Don't you go bloody hiding away now, will you? You keep playing badminton in her honour. Two of them to sort out yet. And you two the same. Thank you for all you've done for your mum and your partners. Giving up your lives for a short time to be there with your mum. Hayley, for you, coming across back home. Mum would be very proud. She was harsh on you sometimes, I was here. Can't even hang the bloody washing out properly over there. She told me I only had one job I gave you one day and you couldn't do that properly. To her mum, who's coming up here shortly to say a few words, it's tough. It's not easy when you have to bury one of your kids, mum. But Lois and I will do our best, and Helen, to be there for you as much as we can. Helen and Lois, thank you for giving up your lives over the last few months and doing everything you could for Helen. You, for Stephanie, you guys gave up many things and were there knocking on her door and sending her texts like I was, and doing what you thought was right. I say thank you to you. Along with you also, Angela, thank you for being there for Stephanie and being special. To many of her workmates, ex-workmates, your neighbours, just dropped into cooking and baking. Some of you didn't even stay, you just tapped on the door, gave them a home cooked meal. Just little things that you probably thought weren't important. They really were. Badminton people, you guys, tremendous. Thank you very much. She taught a lot of you guys met you through sport, badminton, and you treated her just like you should treat someone. To her friends, especially Wendy and Debbie, and Christina for merch, thank you for popping in every time you came down. Meant a lot. On the 15th of July of this year, Stephanie and Jay FaceTimed us, Ruth and I, gave us this bad news. She said, Rex, I'm not going to be here for Christmas. I said, are you joking? What are you talking about? She said, no, cancer's got me in the liver and there's no going back. I'll give chemo a go, but there's no guarantees. I said, hey, fight this, Stephanie, don't you give up. And she didn't. She didn't give up. Keith Quinn won't be happy about this. John Kerwin won't win. Didn't give up. Like some brothers and sisters do, Stephanie and I had our fallings out. A few years there we didn't see eye to eye. We spoke just lately and we couldn't remember what the hell it was over. The feeble it was. Ridiculous really. But with the passing of our dad a few years ago, we got together, decided we would have our best interests of our mum, try to make her final few years better. And we set out to try to get her down here to live in Richmond, but it didn't quite work out that way. But she knew she didn't have long. I messaged her just about every day. And towards the end, I only got short little stories came back, so I knew the end wasn't far away. But I enjoyed my visits a lot. We just sat and talked some days. I said to her, I haven't bought a thing, and she said, you've come, that's all I want. We talked about death. I said to her, what's it going to feel like? She said, I don't know. I said, well, where do you think you're going to go? Oh, I don't know again. She said, I'm not afraid though, Rex. Got to go, I might as well go something. That was her attitude. One of the early visits, I was fortunate enough with Hayley to take her out to two very good friends of Ruth and mine, Sue and Jeff Ward's garden along Moultrie Highway there. There's a plug for you guys if you're here. To the garden centre, and she absolutely loved it. To Jeff's surprise, she knew all about the plants and bulbs and everything. She said, Christ, she could have come and worked for me here, she would have fitted in pretty well, but she didn't have the time. I'm going to miss her when we go to the next golf, when the next golf majors are on, because Stephanie hated golf. She said to me one day, can't believe you've got me sitting here watching this bloody golf on Monday morning, Rex. Because I'd call her and she'd put her picks into me, who was going to win. She got Jay on board and your mum. She loved a bet or two. I'm fortunate enough to have shares in a couple of horses which are running today. They better not bloody win, because she's lost a hell of a lot of money on those horses over the years. Got to the stage where I wouldn't tell her when they were raining, because she'd always text me and say, these bloody horses, Rick, $2 each way on them. So I hope they don't win later on, because it's disappointing for her. Just about jumped out of that box, I think. So she didn't want to spoil everybody's Christmas. She said, I want to be gone by December, and she was right up 30th of November, 1 month after Leonie's 21st. She went very peacefully, very quiet in the end, no fuss, no bother. Jay and the girls were right beside her. So as I said earlier, I mentioned to her on one of my trips that I used to sing some songs and tell her some stories that were made up. And I said to her, I might sing a verse at your funeral. She looked at me and she wanted to know what song it was going to be. And I said, I'm not telling you. And she said, well, I'm going to have to video it now so I can watch it. I don't know how the hell that works. And so, Stephanie, I'm going to sing you a verse of a song. So if people would like to shut their ears in a minute, it's fine. So this is going to be my tribute to my little sister. Thank you. Now is the hour for me to say goodbye. Now you are flying way up in the sky, while you're away. Oh, please remember me, and when you return, you'll find me waiting here. Don't forget, Stephanie, wheels on the bus, they go round and round. And wheels on the bus, they keep going round and round.